For Student Day, for level 2, you will need to know some chord progressions. So a chord progression is chords in a certain order, right? It's a common pattern that shows up in different pieces, in different keys, etc. So let's talk just a little bit about some music theory. We're going to use the key of C as an example here, but we need to know D, A, and E. That's kind of the theme across all of the Student Day technique you need to know. But we'll start with C. So in my C scale, those are the notes I have to choose from. I can build a chord on any one of those notes by starting on a note and adding 2 skips using that set of keys, right? So here's a chord built on C. It's a C major chord. I can move that up and build a chord on D, on E, on F, on G. You get the idea. So each of those chords is called both by the letter, that's the bottom note, but I can also name it by the number of that note in the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I build a chord on C, it's a C chord, or AKA a 1 chord. And in music, we use Roman numerals. So to analyze the chords, to label them. So a 1 in Roman numerals looks like a capital letter I. So here's my 1 chord. The other chord that I need is a 5 chord. This is labeled as a V, capital V in Roman numerals. So the 5th note in your scale, make that the bottom note and build a chord on it. And now we have the 5 chord. So the most common chord progression is 1, 5, 1. And that's how we're gonna play it. The 1 chord, jump to the 5 chord, and back. So let's move this now to D major. In the key of D, D is the first note, so D is 1, and a D major chord built on that note is your 1 chord. So take a second and think about what is the 5th note in that scale. Pause the video if you need to. I'm about to tell you the answer. The 5th note is A. It's actually where your thumb lands in a 5-finger pattern and the top note of that chord. So now for our 5 chord, we need to build a chord on A. So it's an A major chord, and then we go back to 1. So your 1, 5 chord progression in D is 1, 5, 1. It's D, A, E. And they were very nice and wrote that out for you in your Student Day packet on page 2. So this is your 1 chord, which is D, your 5, which is A, and back to 1. Please notice that sharp lasts the whole measure. So this is still a sharp in the middle. All right, let's do A major. So if we're playing a 1 chord in the key of A, my 1 chord is A, right? So here's my 1 chord. What's my 5 chord gonna be? Take a second, pause the video. When you're ready, come back and I will tell you. Here's your 1. Your 5th note is E, so you're gonna move and play an E major chord and then back to A. You'll wanna be able to play this with both hands. I'm just demonstrating with my left hand to save time, but please practice with both hands separately. 1 hand at a time. Lastly, E major. So the 1's pretty easy. I think you probably have gotten that figured out by now. Your 1 chord is going to be E in the key of E major, right? My 5th note in this key is a B, and the B major chord is a little wonky, right? So it's not in our group 1 chords that are all white keys. It's not in our group 2 chords that have black keys in the middle. This is in what I call the Island of Misfits Toys group. There's not another chord like it. It has a white key on the bottom and 2 black keys on the top. So it's B, D sharp, F sharp. You're gonna need to memorize this one if you don't already know it for Student Day. This is your 5 chord in the key of E. So it's 1, 5, 1. Now, thumbs are not usually on black keys unless you're playing a blocked chord like this. When you have a short finger on a short key, you need to slide up into the keys a little bit, and you may also need to pivot that wrist. See how I'm turning my wrist some? So if I was playing a C chord, I could play it here. But to play a B chord, I'm going to slide up and pivot to get my thumb more comfortably on that black key. So hopefully that helps you out as you practice your 1, 5, 1 chord progressions in the keys of D, A, and E.